Monsieur François Bédard, General Director in the World Center for Excellence in Destinations from Canada. Monsieur Bédard.
Okay, good morning everyone, and thank you for being here. So basically my presentation is to talk about a system that we call the System of Measure for Excellence in Destination, and to see the link between basically the accessibility issue. So since some of you may not be familiar with CED, I'll just say a few words about CED, and also the SMED, the System of Measure for Excellence in Destination, and to have a look of the development of that methodology, and of course as a conclusion to outline the commitment in regards to R&D on accessibility for all. So just to say that basically SED is an initiative of a professor from our University of Quebec in Montreal, the business school, the tourism department, and it has been, it was founded in 2006, so it's quite a new organization with the support of the UNWTO and also National Geographic and a few others, our university of course. And it's dedicated to assist destination to basically work day after day toward excellence. And so it has been possible through financial contribution, mainly from the Tourisme Québec, which is the official provincial authority of tourism in the province of Quebec, and also Canada Economic Development for Quebec regions. So the SMED, so what is the SMED methodology? It's basically, as you know, in the world there are 10,000 of destinations if you look at the local level, and that's where the focus is, because for us, let's say like Canada or Quebec or France or Spain, it's not one destination. Within these countries you have plenty of destinations. So we look at the local level, and to really make the difference, it's to try to develop a tool that is what we call a multi-purpose tool. So to be used as a diagnostic tool, progress tool, management, collaboration, marketing positioning, comparative analysis. So just to say a few words about what we mean by diagnostic tools. So it outlines a tourist destination as concise, complete as possible for a given point of time, and but to move, because just diagnostic it's not enough. So to use it as a progress tool, so it highlights the strengths, weaknesses in the destination, which encourage stakeholders in the destination to adopt concrete measure to see how we can, even though you are quite good, there is always room for improvement. Management tools, so you know, for those of you who have experience at the destination level, the DMO, what we call it, Destination Management Organization, so it's quite complex structure, so how we can improve the management of destination. And of course, the DMO is only one stakeholder, so you have many stakeholders at the destination level, and what is key to success for destination level is the level of cooperation between the different stakeholders. Marketing positioning tool, that's of course everybody wants to be on the map, as we say, and to be attractive for as many people as possible. So to see again how we can improve in terms of marketing, this is the SMED could assist in that matter. Comparative analysis, we are all interested to compare ourselves with others, because that's the way to know our own positioning, but also maybe to learn from others how to improve. Communication tool, of course, if you implement the SMED, so you can let the world know that you are committed to improve yourself on a continuous basis. So if we look to the SMED development, and between 2006 and 10, the focus was to develop guidelines, because if we want to work and to make an analysis, so we need to have some guidelines. And between 2010 and 12, the focus was placed on sustainability. And you will see that when we talk about sustainability, there is a direct link with the theme of this summit, so accessibility to all. The last 2 years was to work with the Inter-American Development Bank to see how we can assist DMOs and their stakeholders to have more access to knowledge and access to market. And then 2014 is really, from now on, we are going to through our partnership with the University of Quebec and Montreal, to develop a new program on accessibility for all. So the guideline, it was basically, we work very, very closely with the Destination Council, the UNWTO, and also the Center for Sustainable Destination at National Geographic. So basically 2 partners, funding partners of SED. And so basically, the guiding principle was to look at the cultural richness of a destination, physical integrity and landscape, biological diversity, environmental purity and resource efficiency, local quality of life and social prosperity, local control and involvement of the local population, employment quality. You know that 1 out of 11 jobs in the world are directly or indirectly related to tourism. Visitor fulfillment, that's what we want. We want to have very satisfied visitors in our destination. Appropriate market positioning, so we need to have a brand, you know that. It's basic in marketing. Economically viable tourism destination and enterprises to make sure that people can have a living out of their activity in tourism. Quality of governance, which is key, and also to make sure that there is a continuing evaluation process. So these are what we call the SMED principle. We are using them when we make recommendations for improvement. 2010 and 12, so we add to that effort, but focus with the United Nations Foundation and also the Global Sustainable Tourism Council to develop at the global level some criteria, sustainable criteria for destination, because every nation or area, they have their own criteria. But the idea is, since we have visitors from international visitors, so it has to make sense to them, and that's why there is a global effort to develop that type of sustainable criteria that are recognized worldwide. And so this is just an example of the type of criteria and indicators that has been developed, and in 4 sections. The first one is dealing basically with management. The second section is the economic benefit. The third one is the benefit to communities, just to make sure that local people will benefit from tourism. And of course, when we talk about sustainability, we usually always talk about environment. And just to give you an example of criteria and indicators, so access for all is one of the criteria, and that's exactly the reason why we are here today. And also, again, when we look about local career opportunities, to make sure that people from disability, they are also part of the, I will say, people who can work and have a living in the tourism industry. more recently, 2012, 2014, we have been invited by the Inter-American Development Bank, which is part of the World Bank, to, because every year they invest about $100 million in infrastructure and tourism industry in the Latin America and the Caribbean industry. And then they realize that they don't have a good return on investment, and basically for two basic reasons. One is a lack of knowledge in how to manage the tourism industry, and the other one is how to assess the market. And so we have developed a tool, because it was basically the idea is to be concrete, practical, how you can develop and provide tool for DMOs, Destination Management Organization, and stakeholder to help them to be more knowledgeable and also to access the market. And one partner in this project is the National Geographic Map Division. And finally, yesterday, actually, it's fresh, so you're the first one to know. Our partner said with the University of Quebec in Montreal, the business school in tourism, and so with the UNWTO, we signed a MOU, a Memorandum of Understanding, to launch and develop a new research project with the Tourism and Heritage Research Center at UQAM on accessibility for all. So just to make sure that basically this research center, so there is a chair, there is also a chair in tourism, in heritage, and also, so basically the idea is to make sure that from this summit, there are a lot of rich content that has to live after, I will say, to have a life after the summit. So one of the responsibility of this research group is to basically produce knowledge out of our summit. So thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you very much, Mr. Bédard.
A lot of the presentation shows the return on investment. My question is, from your experience in your different countries, what is more likely actually to promote accessibility? Enforcement of accessibility norms, or indeed the capital approach of return on investment?
Who's willing to answer to this?
So maybe in Portugal?
Yeah.
Thank you for your question. I don't have figures or data that can answer to your question. I don't know if I understood very well, but it's the real economic impact of the in our countries. At the moment, I don't have that kind of data that can share with you. Thank you.
Well, maybe yesterday we had an example of, I think it was in a city in Spain where the historical place or heritage place. Yeah, and you see when they build the elevator?
Yeah.
So the idea was to give access to people with physical wheelchair. And then the question was, are we going to invest that amount of money to build an elevator, to go on and to walk on the wall of the city? And then at the end, they decided to make that investment, and the number of visitors increased by 22%. So a good return on investment. It takes just a few.
That was Tibidabo in Barcelona.
Amusement
park.
Okay,
Yeah.
so
that was an amusement park.
Yeah.
Yes.
So that's an example. Of course, we did not. I'm not aware about too many examples, but at least it shows that if you make that investment at the beginning, it may seem a little bit risky. But if it's a very popular place, the idea is that people with disabilities like the same product or services than any other people. So this is a good indication that if it's a very popular place, then to make that extra investment, knowing that 15% of the total population fit that segment, you have a good chance that you will get a good return on your investment. But it will be actually interesting for maybe a research to have many example of the type of return on your investment if you make special, let's say, development to give access to these people. But at least yesterday in our session,
Yeah.
we have been given that example from, it was in Barcelona. Huh?
Yeah.
Yes, okay.
It was me who gave
Actually,
that. Yeah.
Okay. So
Yeah. My answer to your question is the enforcement is request for public environment and for what is new, and for the rest is the market. I mean, you can make the best accessible hotel in the world with surrounded by barriers, no transport, no amenities, etc., and you will not make business. I mean, the partnership between public, private, and citizens to create a place that is nice to live, a place that is sustainable, nice to live, nice to make money, and respecting the natural environment, that is what should be done. Then enforcement for the streets, public spaces, and for any new building and service to be created. For the others, for the existing ones, they will realize that making investment, that they will make money. Good. I would like to put you a tricky question. Thanks to your intervention talking about sustainability. In the inaugural session, we were listening that tourism is growing every year. People are traveling more, farther, longer, spending more money, etc. But on the other hand, we listened that this year, by the month of August, we already spent all the energy on the goods that the planet can produce in 1 year. I mean, we are over-exploiting the planet. And just to give you another impressive data, when I cannot qualify it in a different way, a stupid person in Barcelona that decide to go for salts in New York because it is fashionable to go for buying clothes in Bloomingdale's in New York when there are salts. And the person do this, the quantity of energy that this person is spending equals the energy that the person needs to survive for 7 years. Then, apart from saying that it's very nice to travel around and to have experiences abroad, etc., would not be interesting to hear some voices saying, look, to have experiences, you don't need to go to the other end of the planet. You can have also tourist experiences around the corner and to save energy while traveling. What do you think about this? What do you think about traveling?
Well, at the end of the day, I think the choice is to people and if we look at the history of travel, it has been like that, travel the world by boat, but they were traveling the world. So it seems that it's part of a human activity to not just to discover your surrounding, but also other places, other culture. It seems that it's really, I will say, in the mankind, basically. As if we look at the history, one of my colleagues, that's what he's teaching, and he's talking about traveling during the Middle Age, and so it has been around for quite some time. What I see as there is a presentation, there is an international organization for what they call social tourism, but basically it's tourism to emphasize, organization to emphasize travel within your own area, your own city. So the importance to also discover your own place. And but there is a mix. There is a mix of the two. But I will be very surprised that people, they say, yes, we know that there is an impact on the environment when you travel by any type of means of transportation. And so I don't envisage tomorrow the electric plane or something like that. So that, not yet. But I think that maybe some initiative to how you are going to compensate for the impact on the environment, as far as I can see, that will probably be the way that people who are really aware about the impact on the environment to travel the world. That, okay, so it's there, but is there any way that we can at least try to compensate the negative impact on the environment? But I will be very surprised that people say, well, I'll stay home because it's too much negative impact on the environment.
Yeah.
Sorry, if I may quickly say something to that as well. I actually think, to your question, it's one doesn't exclude the other. So I think it's a global trend for everyone, to eat more local grown products. It's not only with traveling, it's a general trend. So I think, yes, people have more local experience and also travel locally, but no, there are certain experiences you can't have around the corner. If I'm in Germany, I can't see a giraffe in its natural environment. So of course there is travel. However, I actually also worked in South Africa for a while, and I worked together with tour operators to basically show them how can we be more sustainable in a lot of different ways. And what they have come up with, it's actually a really nice organization in South Africa which is called greenticket.org. And what they do, they actually calculate your carbon footprint if you travel, across the ocean. And then they actually, on the garden route, there is only 1% of indigenous wood left. So what they basically do, they calculate how many trees would you need to plant in order to compensate for the travel that you've done. And then they calculate it in, let's say, 6 trees. And then there are township projects along the garden route where they actually plant those trees. So it's not only an economic or an ecologically benefit, but also a social, so what's the English word? More like a social impact, because you also help the townships. So I think there are many great ways. We will not exclude to go, overseas, but there are great ways to compensate.
Yeah. Are you from Germany?
Yes.
Okay, so there is an organization, I think, based in Germany, which is called Atmosphere. Do you know that organization?
I personally don't know it. My colleague.
Yes, so I think that's exactly what they are doing. It's to assist, I will say, the industry to do exactly what you have described. So because people say, oh, yeah, but I don't know how to do it.
Exactly.
And then this organization called Atmosphere, I think that their name is quite explicit, that it's to provide practical, concrete ways to compensate your print on the environment.
And you know what, we even found for the tour operator I was working back then in South Africa, we actually found that a lot of people, and it's unfortunate to say, but they didn't even care that much about the environment, but because it's in everybody's mouth and everyone hears about it, they kind of wanted to feel better about it, and it was an easy way out for them. So it was basically, yes, I travel, but here, look at the picture, this is what I did, great, I'm so sustainable. And at least that's a good way to start. And
Yeah, well, I was thinking more in a different regard. Curiously enough, although people say traveling is an issue, in fact, traveling is a burden. I mean, you start your holidays mentally when you reach a destination. What happened until you reach is this long stay in the way from Barcelona to Montreal that the company tries to minimize, let's say, your burden, etc. But this is boring and this is not comfortable, etc., etc. Then the question is that if the travel itself can be more sustainable and interesting. I mean, maybe across Europe, like in Japan, you could travel in faster trains and you don't need to take planes, for example. And I should say something. I'm sorry because I was reading about, and it's nothing to do with the context of the Congress, but you mentioned planting trees, and I was reading about this, and then all the carbon that a tree is accumulating while it's living, it is again liberated to the atmosphere once the tree dies. Then planting tree is not the solution. It's only to save energy, really. Excuse me.
Yes, I wanted to make a comment about the local travel, which I definitely feel is a very, very, very important issue, especially for people with well, honestly, I think with any kind of disability, but especially people who use a power chair, or maybe they can only be out for 4 hours, or they need to hire a caretaker. You know, people's schedules are limited, so they only have, you know, maybe a day trip, you know, to be able to go out somewhere. So that means, I mean, primarily, I'm from the San Francisco Bay Area, so, you know, we have the wine countries and everything out there, but I would think the most popular tourist attraction locally is outdoor activities, going to outdoor trails and whatnot, but they still need to be able to get there, so public transportation is very important. And then, of course, you know, it's been mentioned already in the conference about access to, you know, a medical store. Maybe you need some medical supplies, something goes wrong, you know, a wheel pops, you need to get into a bike store or something, anything. So that to me means that there needs to be a huge emphasis on local accessibility for tourism.
Yeah. Well.